I'm not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test, part 57. The Rise of a Parliament, part 2 on page 27 is that by doing shoulder impingement training. And before we're going on in part 2 of Rise of a Parliament, first we want to go to William Shakespeare's quotes. Now, a breach is I don't really understand it with a quote. I just looked for the vocabulary. It means a violation, to break a law, or the act of itself of breaking the law, of trust or something. So once more into the breach. And it sounds like a toast. And another time on to break the law. That's all I could find out, but just based on the vocabulary. I avoided going into the interpretation. And the other thing, the darling buds of May. The bud is by a tree, the end of the branches. The thing where the leaves come up shortly before they come out. So in spring, all starts to grow again, all the trees and the branches and the flowers. And the bud is the little thing at the top of branches of trees. In the winter, it's just staying there and does nothing, and it's closed. And in May, so in the spring months, March, April, May, they are coming out, and then they are growing out of his buds out. So it's the tip of a branch. And in May, so in the spring months, they are green and are shortly before growing larger, these trees, and with better buds. The darling buds of May. B-U-D-S. And that is out of Sonnet 18, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? And the other one, once more into the breach, was out of Henry V. And the next thing with sought heist seeking, as I said, but also a bit more trying to get. So searching, yes, seeking, trying to get, striving for something. So they sought to find new trading routes to expand the British trade with the Spanish colonies. And I think that was the last thing, is that I said 2-3 times Bloody Mary, and it's Blood Mary, if I'm right. Let's look it up. It is Bloody Mary. It's actually Bloody Mary. Okay. It is actually Bloody Mary. I thought I mixed it up with there's a drink or something called Bloody Mary, and I thought I said Bloody Mary, and just the drink has that name. And she was Blood Mary, but now her name is, according to this book, Bloody Mary. But they also claim that the King James Bible is called Authorized People, and just right now where I said it, I remember that I heard also Authorized version a couple of times. So the King James Bible, written during the reign of King James VI of Scotland and the first of England, has the names King James Bible. They say here King James Version and Authorized Version. And the other thing which we didn't understand was circumnavigate. That was what Sir Francis Drake did. He was a commander in the defeation. I'm calling it a defeation. In the defeat. Yes, you can say in the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588, which made Elizabeth I, who was the reigning queen, very popular. So Sir Francis Drake was a founder of British naval tradition, something like that, and he was one of the first to circumnavigate the world. They had written here. Sir Francis Drake, one of the commanders in the defeat of the Spanish Armada, was one of the founders of England's naval tradition. His ship, the Golden Hind, we should know it also. So it was the Golden Hind of Sir Francis Drake, and the Globe Theatre in London today is the copy of the theatres in which Shakespeare's plays had been played in the 16th century, in the 17th century, and 16th and 17th. The Globe Theatre is the rebuilding of Shakespeare, and Golden Hind is the name of a ship which Sir Francis Drake used to sail right around the world, circumnavigate, and I did not look that up, and I'm not going to look that up. Let's start the first exercise. We're having a nice standing comfortable exercise, and we go back with the shoulders up, in front, and down. Back, up, in front, and down. And another time. and go backwards, front, up, back, and down. Last round. And now the same, just with long arms and hands for the fist. We're going back with the arms, with the shoulders. Now try to go further back while you lift the shoulders up. Now try to lift the shoulders higher while you bring them in front. Try to bring the shoulders further in front while you bring them down. Try to bring the shoulders further down while you bring them back. Try to bring the shoulders further back while you lift them up. Try to lift the shoulders higher while you bring them in front. Try to bring the shoulders further in front while you bring them down. Try to bring the shoulders further down while you bring them back. And now in front. Bring the shoulders in front while you try to bring them further down. Try to bring them further in front while you lift them up. Try to bring them further back while you bring them down. Try to bring them further down while you bring them in front. Try to bring them further in front while you lift them up. And last 2 times, try to bring them higher while you bring them back. And try to bring them further back while you bring them down. Let's do the next 2 exercises. And then we go on with part. We're lifting the arms up and we're just concentrating on the scapulars, but we're opening up and making room for the humerus. If this exercise causes pain, then don't do it. So bring the arms up and just concentrate on the scapulars. The arms up and just concentrate on the scapulars. Are we opening up and making room for the humerus? The humerus is the bone in the upper arm. And that was the last time. And now we bring the arms to the outside. And we bring them in front and just concentrate how the scapulars are going around the ribcage, now around the back and pinching back together, and around the ribcage and following the humerus to the side of the ribcage. And 2 more times. And now let's go on with the Parliament. What was the exact title it was? The Rise of Parliament. So, that sentence was a bit complicated, but we had that Elizabeth I was very skillful to manage the House of Lords and House of Commons. And at least the House of Commons had become more Protestant in its views. James I and his son Charles I were less skilled politically, and both believed in the idea that the king was directly appointed by God to rule. They thought that the king should be able to act without having to seek approval from Parliament. So that the king, they thought Charles I and James I, that the king can directly collect new taxes, create new laws and change laws, all these things which were in the Magna Carta in 1215 under King John, against King John done. So not King John did it, but King John was more or less forced by his noblemen to accept these terms written down in the Magna Carta. So but James I and Charles I, following Elizabeth I, they believed in the divine right of God, divine right of kings, and the divine right of kings, which is the belief that God has appointed them directly to rule. So they thought that they should not have to ask the Parliament. When Charles I inherited the thrones of England, Wales, Ireland and Scotland, so Scotland remained a separate country, while King James I was the King of England, Wales and Ireland, and the King as James VI of Scotland. It was a separate country, even though he was both persons. And now his successor, his inheritor was Charles I. And Charles I got directly England, Wales, Ireland and Scotland. Now, it is possible that Scotland is still an independent country here in this line, but it seems to be now something basically in his bag which he's giving on. So everything he had collected under his titles did James VI and James I pass on now as one to Charles I. And Charles I tried to rule under this principle that he has to ask the Parliament, and that he has the divine right of kings, and that means that he's appointed or something like what was it by God. The next exercise, let's do the world thing. We are having long arms, now bending the elbows and the hands to fists, and we're turning the arms to the inside, and we're going with shoulders back together and down. So the arms to the inside, shoulders down and together. Now the arms to the outside, and the shoulders are staying down and together. Now the arms to the inside, and the shoulders down and together. And change it last time. The arms to the outside, the shoulders down and together. And the similar exercise, the arms to the outside, the fists a bit in front, and turn the arms in front, and go with the shoulders down and together. Now change. The arms are going back, and here the shoulders are also changing up and in front. The arms back, the shoulders up and in front. And change. The arms in front, and the shoulders down and together. And change. The arms back, and the shoulders up and in front. And releasing. And the last exercise, the pretzel curl, the arms together. We're going down and to the outside, and we're just concentrating on the movement which the scapulars are doing. Are we following the humerus? Are we going around the ribcage as we should now? Back, opening up so that the arm can come up. And the last time. And now we're just stretching the arms with one arm in front, shoulders is back. And on the other arm. So Elizabeth I was skillful to manage the parliaments, after her own wishes and views. And the House of Commons had become more Protestantic in its views. Now her inheritors, James I or James VI, James I of England and Charles I were not so skilled to manage the parliaments. Both believed in the divine rights of kings. That means that they believed that God had appointed them to rule. And Charles I ruled England, Scotland and Wales and Ireland after this principle that he doesn't have to ask the parliament. When he could not get Parliament to agree with his religious and foreign policies, he tried to rule without Parliament at all. So if Charles I could not get what the Parliament says, what he wants that it says, that the Parliament doesn't agree with him. If the Parliament didn't agree with him, with his religious views or his foreign political views, his religious and foreign policies, then he tried to rule without the Parliament at all. For 11 years he found ways in which to raise money without Parliament's approval, but eventually trouble in Scotland meant that he had to recall Parliament. Okay, that will be the next section, the beginning of the English Civil War. That goes on with Charles I wanted the worship of the Church of England, so we can do that in the next part, also the end of that part. For 11 years he found ways in which to raise money without Parliament's approval. So 11 years did he rule, and if the Parliament hasn't agreed to him what he wanted in religious or foreign policies, he could still get the money somehow, raise the money. But then there came trouble with Scotland or in Scotland, and so he had to call the Parliament. Understand it? I thank you very much. Until the next part, the beginning of the English Civil War. I thank you very much. Until the next time.